Hey, Alex.
Yeah.
Corporate needs you to find a difference between this headphone and this headphone. Reddit says there are at least three.
They are the same headphones.
Hi, I'm Alex from Ratings.com. Today, we're taking a close look at the open-backed Beyerdynamic DT1990 Pro Mark II, the latest iteration of one of Beyerdynamic's staple studio headphones. But before we dive in, we've got a quick update for you. We're hard at work refining our testing methods at improving how we present acoustic data. In fact, we're excited to give you a sneak peek at our updated graph tool. More on that later in the video. At first glance, the headphones are unmistakably Beyerdynamic, with their signature horizontal grills and silver text keeping in line with the company's long-standing design language. Their build quality matches the price tag. The sturdy mix of metal components and high-quality plastic gives them a premium feel. That said, there are a couple of shortcomings. The yokes wobble slightly where they sheath into the headband, and the exposed wire running from the ear cup to the headband may be a snagging risk. These quirks aren't deal breakers, but worth noting when dropping this much on a pair of headphones. Moving on to ergonomics, these headphones are comfortable to wear, thanks to the soft microfiber velour ear pads that feel great against the skin. There's also vented padding covering their 45mm driver housings, so even if your ears touch the sides, you'll stay comfortable. To top things off, the Beyerdynamics headband is well padded, offering decent weight distribution. However, the headphone's clamping force is on the higher side, which can be fatiguing over time, especially if you're pulling an all-nighter mastering a track. Since the Mark IIs are one of Beyerdynamic's premium offerings, they also come with a few extras. The included hardshell carrying case provides plenty of storage for accessories, which is just great considering the headphones also come with two sets of ear pads, one tuned for mixing and the other for producing, and two mini XLR to 3.5mm cables, one coiled, one straight, plus 6.35mm adapters for both. Before we get into how they sound, it's worth considering whether their sonic performance is consistent. For producing or mixing use, predictability is key. Headphones should sound the same every time you wear them, no matter the situation. Fortunately, they deliver a reliable seal, so you'll get a consistent listening experience whether you're reseating them after a quick bathroom break, rocking long, luscious locks, or wearing sunglasses indoors so no one can see you crying to Everybody Hurts by REM. Now, for our sneak peek, let's talk about frequency response and sound profile. One of the best parts of being in the audio community is sharing experiences, excitingly comparing headphones, talking about the characteristics we love, and debating, sometimes in vain, which target curve sounds best. There's no one-size-fits-all frequency response, and that's what makes this space so exciting. Even in our relatively small team at Ratings, we have some diverse preferences, as you can see from this quick snippet from our R&D article on the topic. We want to enrich the conversation on sound to flexibly represent the multitude of personal preferences in the space. That's why we're introducing multiple target curves to our graph tool, giving you the freedom to visualize how different headphones compare across various preferences. There are two ways to explore the new target curves in our graph tool. If you're comfortable reading frequency response graphs, our updated tool lets you toggle as many or as few targets as you like, so go wild. If you're less familiar with frequency response data, no worries. As long as you have an idea of which target best matches your listening preferences, you can view the headphone sound profile normalized to that curve. Any bumps or dips are displayed relative to the target you've selected. Now that we've explored our updated tool, let's see how the DT1990 Pro Mark IIs stack up, specifically relative to our in-house target curve. Starting with the bass, they do an excellent job. Like most open-back headphones, they don't deliver the same level of thump and punch in the low and mid bass as closed-back models, but they make up for it with a good helping of high bass, perfect for the canons in Tchaikovsky's 1812 Overture. Moving into the mids, these headphones almost perfectly follow our target curve, ensuring that complex orchestrations like the love theme in Tchaikovsky's Romeo and Juliet Fantasy Overture are clear. As for the treble, compliance is decent, but not flawless. To briefly address the 8 kHz elephant in the room, it's still there. The Mark II retained the treble peak from the original DT1990 Pro, keeping Beyerdynamic's characteristic bright tuning. In practice, this was noticeable in some songs, like in Daft Punk's Get Lucky, and we found rhythm sections' clapping sounds slightly piercing. Most of the peaks and dips in the Mark II's sound profile happen in the treble, but they aren't particularly distracting. Besides the mid-treble's aforementioned 8 kHz peak, the most noticeable dip is in the sharp roll-off in high treble, which can reduce the shimmer of hi-hats. That said, Audibility at this range varies from person to person, so you might not notice this. It's worth noting that all previous measurements were taken using the producing pads, which have a bit more emphasis in the bass and low mid. Switching to the mixing pads results in a flatter response, closer to what you'd expect from a studio target curve. The Mark II also excel in group delay performance, ensuring that different frequencies are properly timed. This results in tight, well-defined kicks and a transparent treble. Meanwhile, our Mark II's left-right drivers are remarkably well matched, meaning the headphones render sound sources accurately in the stereo image without gaps or leaning in one direction or the other. That said, driver matching is also an indicator of quality control, so other units may perform differently from ours. The open back design of the Mark II allows audio to escape from their driver enclosures, contributing to your perception of sound being around you in your listening space, though the released audio doesn't interact a ton with your environment. Meanwhile, our Pinay response transfer function measurement is meant to evaluate headphones' approximation of the outer ear interaction of our test rig with a speaker placed at 30 degrees to simulate a stereo listening experience. In this regard, the Mark IIs are alright at imitating the interaction, which contributes to the impression of a wider soundstage. Depending on your use case, noise isolation and leakage might not be a major concern. As open-back headphones, the DT1990 Pro Mark II naturally offer little to no isolation from external noise. Likewise, they aren't great at keeping sound in, though most of the leakage occurs in the mid and treble frequencies rather than the low end. If you're behind the glass in the control room of a recording studio, there's no need to worry. But if you're planning to record vocals while monitoring a backing track or can't control your listening environment, you might want to consider a closed-back alternative, or start scouting for new roommates. Now that we've covered the details, let's put things in context, with the big question. Are the DT1990 Pro Mark IIs an upgrade over the Mark I? And if so, are they worth it? Short answer is no. Comparing both models with their producing pads, the Mark II sound nearly identical to the Mark I. There's a bit more detail from the high, mid, and low treble, and less exaggerated treble overall in the Mark II. However, the divisive 8 kHz peak is still present, so if you weren't a fan of it before, don't expect that to change. One notable improvement is the Mark II's lower 30 ohm impedance, making them easier to drive and more versatile across setups. But here's the catch. The original DT1990 Pro is currently $200 cheaper and sports the same build quality, hard case, extra pads, and extra cable. For most, the extra spend won't be worth it, especially if you already have an amp that can drive the original. If you're choosing between the Beyerdynamic DT990 Pro and the DT1990 Pro Mark II, it really comes down to what matters most to you. Just need an open back workhorse without the extras? The DT990 Pro gets the job done for less. You still benefit from Beyerdynamic's signature design and comfort, and while the build quality isn't as high-end, it's solid. You'll be giving up the Mark II's hard case for a basic soft pouch, and the DT990 Pro's non-detachable cable could make repairs trickier. Notably, the DT990 Pro comes in an 80 and 250 ohm version. Go for the lower impedance model if you don't have an amp. Tuning-wise, the DT990 Pro are slightly U-shaped, with more bass and treble than the Mark II. However, their treble response is less consistent between reseats. Finally, we have an entry from Sennheiser, the HD490 Pro. Both the HD490 Pro and the DT1990 Pro Mark II are similarly priced music production headphones, each offering 2 sets of earpads for producing and mixing. However, the Sennheisers lack a case or extra cable, making them feel a bit more bare bones. When it comes to comfort, the Sennheisers reign supreme thanks to their lighter clamping force, velour padding, and swiveling yokes, which help reduce strain on the frame. Still, the Beyerdynamics have better overall build quality with metal yokes for added durability. Sonically, the Sennheisers deliver a bit more bass overall and a smoother treble compared to the Beyerdynamics' more subdued bass and polarizing top end. Although the Sennheiser is slightly cheaper, there's no obvious winner. Between their sonic qualities, difference in build and comfort, and extras accessories you may or may not miss, there are plenty of trade-offs, but it's hard to go wrong with either pair. And that's all for today. A huge thank you to Harman and Dr. Sean Olive, SenseLab and University of Aizu, and Soundguys for graciously sharing their target curves for our upcoming test bench update. Stay tuned for more details on the rest of the update soon. And of course, thank you for tuning into our review of the Beyerdynamic DT1990 Pro Mark II. Until next time, I'm Alex from Ratings.com, where we help you find the best products for your needs.
Corporate needs you to find the differences between these two headphones. Reddit says there are at least 3.
No laughing, please.
All right, let's do this again.